Welcome back, vets. Rick Seaman here for C4, and this is part 3 of our discussion on PTSD. Returning again is Shad Meshad and Dr. Bridget Cantrell. So picking up where we left off, I guess it's fair to say that with PTSD, which isn't a visible wound, it's not an amputation, it's not the loss of a limb. This is psychological. With PTSD, you could be in for a battle with the VA. Is that fair to say?
It's more than fair. More than fair to say.
Okay. A veteran comes home and his family realizes, this isn't the same guy, he's got some problems. Because the family will probably recognize it before the veteran. Is that
yes.
fair to say?
Yes, I think so, yes.
So, if they take the initiative, or if the veteran takes the initiative, he finds himself, kicking a lot of trash cans and throwing a lot of beer bottles, and he's not happy, and, would he be better off trying to work this out himself with his family and friends and himself, or would he be better off going to the VA and going through that process? Or would the answer be somewhere in between?
Well, definitely somewhere in between. I mean, he needs to work it out with himself and his family, but that's going to take professional help. And I strongly recommend, number one, that he gets professional help, someone that knows family therapy, someone that can work with the whole unit, family, wife, kid, whatever the individual presents. I think on the other hand, he has every right to start the process of applying if he feels like, or someone has indicated that he might have PTSD, that he should immediately start the process of getting a claim filed.
And one thing for sure is he should keep, or he or she, because 15% of the military are now females, should keep a paper trail. Make sure they keep a paper trail. Make sure they remember who they served with, because so many of you Vietnam vets don't remember who you served with. And here I say, well, can you call? Can you get in contact with your first sergeant or whatever? They don't. Well, I don't know how to get in contact with them. So it's really important that this new generation of warriors stays in contact, or at least has some contact information for those they serve with. And I think it's really important that they can also go to the deployment clinics throughout the United States at the VAs and start the process, get in the system so that there is a beginning point. Otherwise, they wait 30 years down the road, and, well, what have you been doing for the last 30 years? We didn't know you had a problem, but they knew they were starting to have problems 30 years ago. So it's very important that they get in the system and they seek help. And I think that being outside of the VA system would be a good choice, because sometimes it's very difficult to get care in the VA system. They're on overload. The waiting lists are long. For example, if they get medication through the VA, some VAs, the waiting list is very long for a med check, just to see how they're doing on different medications. So if they can get outside of the VA and see a private person who specializes in working with combat veterans and family members, they're so much further ahead that way.
It's such valuable information there, because you don't want to wait 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Stuff happens with PTSD. The symptoms are not nice. And if the individual continues to regress, it looks bad. If he's putting or she's putting all her apples on a VA assessment claim or whatever, and then gets declined, then we've seen that. Boy, stuff hits the wall pretty nasty. They should be taking care of one thing. The old saying, don't look for a job till you have a job. If you've got a job, that's the time to go look for a job. Keep things in perspective. They should be working on their problem at the same time applying for these benefits, just in case it's a long battle ahead. At least they're not sitting and waiting 2, 3, 4, could be 5 years, could be constantly being rejected because of several of the factors, and factors we don't even know about. Particularly now with the push to restrict all of this disability. I mean, they're bringing Vietnam veterans back in for reevaluations that are 100%ers. They're bringing these Iraqi vets back. They got 100%. We're talking 100% to be reevaluated in less than 2 years to go back for a reevaluation. So the best thing is to act on it. It's worth every penny to get a jump start on getting professional help.
You mentioned reevaluation. can a veteran who files for disability claim for PTSD, should he expect that? I mean, is that in the cards that if you are rated with a disability today, 2 years from now, you may be reevaluated? Can they
Absolutely.
expect that?
No, they can't expect that because that is what they're doing today. You will be reevaluated. The number of PTSD claims right now are outrageous. The VA is doing everything to slow that process down and to bring in a number of individuals that have been certified with PTSD to have them reevaluated. And I'm understanding it's very difficult. So it's a real game. It's real. It's really happening. It's
And you know, the other part of this too is you don't want to put your lives on hold. I mean, get on with your life because there are options out there. There's employers out there that are looking for veterans to hire. You're just an absolute wonderful, untapped resource of information. You have skills and you have something to contribute to the workforce. And look out there, go on the internet and look for organizations that are wanting to hire the warriors coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan because you have the skills. It may just be part-time work that you can handle, but at least you're not putting your lives on hold and you're being productive and you're setting goals, and that's part of the process of moving through this whole issue of post-traumatic stress with anything. You know, it's really trying to take care of yourself, setting goals, and learning as much as you can about yourself so that you can work with what you have.
You know, Bridget, you're so right. That period, whether you come back at 20, 21, 25, you know, your 20s, early 30s are so formative. And we have to think about, you know, careers, families. I mean, these are all part of readjustment. It's not just you got PTSD or you have a wound or whatever. You know, you've got to be looking at your career. And the longer you sit and wait for something to happen, the more likely nothing's going to happen, except that you're going to be regressed and you're going to get more and more away from all the things that are necessary for you to reintegrate and have a full life. So, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We're going to take a short break and be right back. C4.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Enjoy your freedom? Support combat wounded veterans. Presented by the Military Order of the Purple Heart. For more information, visit www.purpleheart.org.
C4, we are back. Shad, Bridget, glad you folks are here. Been very helpful, and I think we've done pretty good thus far. But I do have a concern with returning vets, and this is it. They've been well trained. They've got a lot of good tools that they learn in the military. And they should be an asset to employers. Employers should be going after these guys because they faced adversity, they've had leadership roles, and I think they belong in corporate America and in every job phase there is. But when employers look, they're going to hear the stats that, was it 40%, 50% of our returning vets are diagnosed with PTSD. That's my concern. But then I'll give you an analogy, if you don't mind. Everybody around here talks about NASCAR, so let's put it in a NASCAR analogy. I build this race motor for the Daytona 500. All the best parts. Top shelf stuff inside this motor, and it's a screaming machine. It'll turn 10,000 RPM. It's got 800 horsepower. That's my soldier in training. They just built a mean, lean, screaming fight machine. I go to Daytona and I win the race. That's my soldier in Iraq. But after the race, that motor I built is spent. It can't run another race. And that motor comes out of the car and it goes under some workbench in the corner and it just gathers rust and dust. That's my soldier coming out of the military, becoming a veteran, and being forgotten. But there's more races to run. So I get that old motor out of there that's spent and all rusty and dirty, and I clean it up. I go in it internally and bring it back up. That's my soldier taking care of PTSD. And he's ready to go run the rest of those races. I think these veterans are our nation's greatest asset. And I think this country, this government has to do everything it can to get them back on the track.
Yes, I agree. I think they're an untapped resource, and that's why it's so important that all of us citizens and any type of people that have power in this particular situation can help these soldiers transition back into using those skills. And they do have skills. I mean, they have leadership skills. They work under pressure. That's one of the things that's so hard for them when they come home, is to go back into a civilian workforce and see in their minds that civilians waste time. They don't think in teamwork. They don't think of the consequences of their behaviors. They waste time. They don't utilize their time effectively to get the job done in the most expedient way. So it leads to frustration on their part. But yes, indeed, they are certainly a wonderful untapped resource.
I think the key issue is discipline. The greatest thing that all soldiers come out that survive being a soldier is the tremendous discipline, strict discipline. And it's the total opposite when you look at our society today. It's very undisciplined, almost anything goes, be an individual, don't do this, don't do that, everything is soft. Don't punish your child. It could be, everything. Everybody's afraid to do anything and just letting things happen. And look at the chaos. Look at the breakdown in the family without going to war. Look at the high divorce rate. Most marriages don't make it to 5 years. I mean, 3 out of 5 in our country are over by the 5th year. So there's a lot of things that the soldier brings, but I think the number one thing is the discipline.
I totally agree.
Yeah, obviously to learn and to, as Bridget was saying, to be able to work under pressure, life and death pressure. I mean, nobody has to do that in a regular job. I don't even care if you work in the stock market today and as much pressure that is. At least the individual, if it was a soldier, knows he's not going to die, and then people aren't going to necessarily die unless they jump off a bridge because they lost on the stock market. The fact is that those are two major things that soldiers bring, and they're learning ability. Most of them are young, so they're wide open. They may not be up with their peers, but their peers never learn that discipline, never learn how to manage that kind of pressure.
Right.
And so to me, the trade-off is there, and I totally agree. I think our leadership should really be with veterans.
Right.
Well, and they know what commitment is. You have to
Exactly.
commit in order to do the mission.
Right.
And they're very committed individuals, and they're very loyal employees.
And the one thing, you're broken down in basic training. You work as a unit, as a team, in the team approach. I mean, golly,
Yeah.
if we could see that in all our companies, it would be a whole different, the world that we knew probably in the mid-50s or the 40s,
That's right.
May I say that there lies the optimism that these soldiers have the tools and they should use them when it comes to coping skills, going through the frustration of the VA. They've been there, done that before on the battlefields.
Yeah, their tenacity.
Tenacity.
Their tenacity.
Exactly.
That and their hope. That tomorrow is going to be a different day.
Right.
Each day is a different day, and each day can get better. But they have to use those skills, that the commitment, the structure, all of those things that they have in the military that have helped make them this incredible person that they've become, to move forward in their lives. And one of the other things too is be careful who you hang out with. Because you could get in with a group of veterans that feel spent, where they're not motivated. And all they do is they just don't have the motivation or the hope left in their lives. So you have to change your life in order to seek out those that will inspire you, because you need to keep moving forward.
Well, the key thing is don't wait. And I think we said that in a few of your other episodes, that waiting is a killer. You know, the old
Yeah.
saying, if you're waiting on me, you're backing up.
Right.
If you're standing in one place today, you are backing up. It's not like you're staying there. You're literally going backwards. And to wait 1 or 2, 3, don't wait on anything. And these guys are pros at multitasking. I mean, how many of us could do 10 or 15 things? We're still doing that sort of thing. And we
Right.
think it's normal.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
a soldier would know that. It's
Yeah.
what you got to do today. They're perfect for that. But if they come back and think, oh, and everybody looks at them and feels like you're worthless now, you're a spent round, then if they buy into that, they really are going backwards. And they'll never be able to regain that lost time. And so I say get back, get on your feet, find anything, whatever. Keep moving and do the other things you need to do to take care of yourself. Don't wait.
Bridget, Shad, thank you both very much for helping me out here on this show with this. It's probably the most important issue our veterans face today. And to our vets, march on, go get them. This is Rick Seaman on C4 for Veterans Network.